Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jack McCarthy. I work as head of research at the Rediscovery Centre, whom Aidan mentioned in his presentation. We're the National Centre for the Circular Economy based in Ballymun on the north side of Dublin. We're going to talk to you about the procurement of reused paint by local authorities primarily in relation to our paint reuse network, which we coordinate in very close partnership with our partner funders, the Regional Waste Management Planning Offices. So just an outline of what I'm going to talk about, a little bit of context. Why would we want to reuse paint and what does that look like? What is the Paint Reuse Network? Who are we and how we operate? And then a few examples without going into huge detail because they're actually fairly simple agreements on the green public procurement of paint and a guideline that we have developed on this basis, targeting local authorities in particular. So paint reuse, how our model works is that we partner with local authorities and civic amenity sites who set aside paint donated by the public at civic community sites. As you can see here in these bins, our members who are highly trained in this regard visit these sites, screen the paint for quality, and take away what is deemed to be reusable for stockpiling. That paint is remixed and further tested through pretty low tech but highly skilled processes. So it is remixed by hand and colors are achieved by eye through trial and error. The paint is repotted and resold with different brands used by the different social enterprises who are members of this network. So you see there Picture 5, Renew Waterford, and Picture 6 from IRD Do Hollow, who used the Relove paint brand, which was developed by Cork County and City Councils and our Paint Reuse Network branding to unify the lot of them. So why would we want to do this? Paint is difficult to dispose of, so it is an environmental problem. About 3,500 tons, based on export data, is exported for incineration annually. Reuse generates additional value from unwanted paint, and there's a number of policy initiatives that this now aligns with. So the National Waste Management Plan for a Circular Economy, in terms of keeping materials in use for longer, this is reuse, so it contributes towards our national goal of 20 kgs of reuse per person per year. It's also flagged in the Buying Greener Strategy and Action Plan in section 7.9, and of course Circular 17 of 2025, which is mentioned extensively today, also supports this kind of initiative. So what is the Paint Reuse Network? It is basically a network that is seeking to replicate and expand the reuse of paint through a model that was developed in the Rediscovery Centre and has now been in operation for 20 years. So on the basis of that experience, we partnered and got really good support from the Regional Waste Management Planning Offices and launched a national network in 2021 with 4 members. We now have 10 reuse organisations working with 12 local authorities. And I'll show you the extent of that right now. And as I've mentioned, it's funded by the Regional Waste Management Planning Offices and delivered through a close partnership with ourselves. So on the left-hand side here, you see the extent of the members who do that quality screening, mixing, reselling. They're all social enterprises. Each of them have a mission to deliver not just products, but also a social good in terms of the people that they work with and the people who work for those enterprises. I'm not going to go through, well, all of them right now. I don't think we've time. The one in red is our most recent member who joined just this month, which is County Kildare Community Network. And on the right-hand side, you have a map of all of the civic community sites that we work with. Again, the red dots are the recent growth in that, the 2 in County Clare and Limerick working with Tate House in Limerick City, and the 2 in Kildare and Carlow working with that new member based in Athy. So the objectives of the network is to minimise paint waste in Ireland, maximise the number of donation and purchase points for the public, and support community employment and training. We also provide an affordable product, so we intentionally it's very affordable at €2.50 per litre is our benchmark, which is quite a bit lower than typical commercial brands. So we're trying to provide a product that is accessible for people who may not otherwise afford it, or community groups, GA clubs and things like that. The volumes here, we've got in 2024, 34 tons collected and 24 tons sold or redistributed through various agreements. The 10 tons difference is basically a stockpile. Less than 2% of our paint goes back to civic community sites. So how does it work in practice? I showed you the pictures at the start, but diagrammatically, the public donate paint to CA sites. It's set aside for screening. A paint reuse organization comes and does that screening, takes away what's reusable, mixes it in their facility, distributes it, or sells it to the public. Empty buckets and that very small amount of unusable paint is returned to the civic community site. So the role of the network here is technical training on paint collection, screening, mixing and sales, which we provide to all members, marketing support, and to develop new sales avenues, including with local authorities and retail partners. We're also constantly ensuring that there's a standardization of training and processes across the network, and we have a manual that we're about to finalize for all of our members. So on to public procurement, and I'm just going to flag a few examples here, but I think it echoes a lot of what has been said already today in terms of the benefits of public procurement to social enterprises and to circular enterprises. It is about creating demand. It does provide financial stability to social enterprises. The few examples I'll show you now have given those enterprises an ability to plan with a greater degree of stability. And I think, as was mentioned also, it does normalize reused paint for the public. So we're now able to point towards examples where we have the EPA, we have community groups, we have different groups throughout Ireland who have used reused paint, and it's fine. And I think being able to point to those examples goes a long way. And in the examples I'll show you as well, communities do get involved in the process. So the main model to talk about here, Fingal County Council paint tender was the first that we engaged with. So they've procured reused paint from Rediscover Paint to distribute to community groups. So a tender was released, Rediscover Paint applied for that tender, and Fingal basically foot the bill for community groups to contact the Rediscovery Centre and ask for paint. We've been awarded 4 tenders between 2022 and 2025. So there's, as Aidan mentioned, smaller kind of packages of work to do. And 7,223 litres of paint has been delivered to over 40 community groups during that time. A Meath tender is also now underway using that same model. These are pictures from a group in Balbriggan who agreed to share their story, just a Tidy Towns group who painted a wall in their community, adding to the colour in the town there. There's a similar model in place in Cork. So the Relove Paint Community Grant Scheme is funded by Cork County and City Councils and funds 3 social enterprises there to provide paint to community groups who can apply for up to 15 litres of reused paint. And again, 2,790 litres of paint have been distributed in 2025 by those enterprises to 166 groups. And on the I suppose institutional side, the EPA have also procured paint from the Rediscovery Centre. This is the offices in Clonskee being painted in 2022. So I suppose, getting to the end of this now, on the basis of these experiences, we have produced a guide for local authorities who want to engage in the procurement of reused paint. There's a very simple template in there that we've kind of extracted from our experience to date as a basis for going forward. So that's available on the website there at paintreuse.network/resources. And that's about all I have to say, but thanks for your attention. Our current network coordinator is Nora Maddock. You can reach out to Nora at rediscoverycentre.ie, and then the link to that guide is at paintreuse.network/resources.